Our today's topic of discussion is fair trial in the administration of criminal justice. We all know that in the administration of criminal justice, the fair trial is one of the facets of natural justice. So, in order to ensure the human rights, it is very, very important that accused must be put to a fair trial. The right to a fair trial is a norm of international human rights law, which have been adopted by many countries in their procedural law. It is designed to protect individuals from the unlawful and arbitrary curtailment or deprivation of their basic rights and freedoms, the most prominent of which are the right to life and liberty of the person. The concept of fair trial is based on the basic principles of natural justice. The concept of fair trial has been accepted as human rights jurisprudence in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948. Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted by the General Assembly on December 10, 1948. Article 10 of this declaration provides that everyone is entitled in full equality to fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal in the determination of his rights and obligations of any criminal charge against him. Article 11 extends the rights conferred by Article 10 and states that everyone charged with a penal offense has the right to be presumed innocent until proved guilty according to law in a public trial, at which he has had all the guarantees necessary for his defense. Article 14 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, hereinafter referred to ICCPR, reaffirms the objects of UDHR and provides that everyone shall be entitled to a fair and public hearing by a competent, independent, and impartial tribunal established by law. In Zahira Habibullah Sheikh and others versus State of Gujarat 2006, the Supreme Court made the following observation regarding the horizons of fair trial and said that the principle of fair trial now informs and energizes many areas of the law. It is reflected in numerous rules and practices. It is a constant, ongoing development process, continually adopted to new and changing circumstances and exigencies of the situations, peculiar at times and related to the nature of crime, person involved directly or operating behind, social impact and social needs, and even so many powerful balancing factors which may come in the way of administration of criminal justice. Now, we would like to throw light on some of the glimpses of fair trial under the Criminal Procedure Code 1973. In adversarial system, responsibility for the production of evidence is placed on the opposing party, that is on the prosecutions, with the judge acting as a neutral referee between the parties. In contrast, in inquisitorial trial system, responsibility for the production of evidence at trial is the job of the trial judge, and it is the trial judge who decides which witnesses will be called at trial and who does most of the questioning of witnesses. The adversary system is more or less based on the notion of reconciliation of public and private interest. That is, public interest in punishing the wrongdoer and prevents him to commit more crimes, and private interest in preventing the wrongful convictions and protecting the life and personal liberty of the accused. Another facet of fair trial is presumption of innocence. As a basic component of the right to a fair trial, the presumption of innocence inter alia means that the burden of proof in a criminal trial lies on the prosecution and that the accused has the benefit of doubt. The presumption is seen to flow from the Latin legal principle I incumbet probatio, cui decet, non cui negate. That is, it means It means that the burden of proof rests on who asserts and not on one who denies. It means one who puts the allegation needs to prove the guilt of the accused. The presumption of innocence is, in fact, a legal instrument created by the law to favor the accused based on the legal inference that most people are not criminals. It is said that 99 criminals may go scot free, but one innocent person should not be indicted. So, it is the responsibility of the prosecution to prove the charges that are labeled against the accused, and the accused is proved to be innocent unless and until his guilt is proved beyond reasonable doubt by the prosecution. Another facet of fair trial is independent and impartial judiciary with competent judges. Independence presupposes a separation of power in which the judiciary is institutionally protected from undue influence by or interference from the executive branch. The rationale of this provision is to avoid the arbitrariness and bias that would potentially arise if criminal charges were to be decided on by a political body or an administrative agency. In a criminal trial, as the state is the prosecuting party and the investigating machinery is also limb of the state, it is of utmost significance and importance that the judiciary is unchained of all suspicion of executive influence and control, direct or indirect. Now, another facet of fair trial is the venue of trial and public hearing. Fair trial requires that public hearing must be done in the open court. Article 14, Clause 1 of the ICCPR guarantees the right to a public hearing as one of the essential elements of the concept of a fair trial. Section 327 of the Criminal Procedure Code makes provision for the open courts for public hearing, but it also gives discretion to the presiding judge or magistrate that if he thinks fit, he can deny the access of public hearing to any particular person or to public generally, and especially where the offenses are in the nature of the sexual offenses against the women, and particularly in the cases of rape. The exception is there that the trial is not to be held in public, and that is in open court, but it should be conducted in camera. And it has also been interested upon the authorities that whenever the trial is being done in the rape cases, uh, as far as practicable, the trial must be conducted by a woman judge or the magistrate. Now, another important thing is that the accused should have the accusation uh, should have the knowledge of the accusation. It means he should know about the charges that have been leveled against him. It is also very, very important attributes of the fair trial that accused person is given the opportunity, the adequate opportunity, and the right of hearing to defend himself. In International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Article 14, Clause 3, Subclause B provides that in the determination of any criminal charge against the accused, everyone is entitled to have adequate time and facilities for the preparation of his defense and to communicate with counsel of his own choosing. Now, Article 6, Clause 3, Subclause B of the European Council of Human Rights and Article 8, Clause 2, Subclause C of the African Charter of Human Rights also provide that every person accused of a criminal offense has the right to have adequate time and facilities for the preparation of his defense. What constitutes adequate time will depend on the nature of the proceeding and the factual circumstances of a case. The factors which are to be taken into account include the complexity of a case, the defendant's access to evidence, the time limits provided for in the domestic law for certain actions in the proceedings, etc. Now, it is also one of the important ingredient of fair trial or one of the feature of fair trial, that the trial must be conducted in the presence of the accused. It is a general rule in criminal cases that all the inquiries and trial should be conducted in the presence of the accused person. The underlying principle behind this is that in a criminal trial, the court should not proceed ex parte against the accused person. It is also necessary for the reason that it facilitates the accused to understand properly the prosecution case and to know the witnesses against him so that he can check their truthfulness in a later stage of trial. Now, whatever evidences are being taken, it should be taken in the presence of the accused only. Section 273 of the CRPC is very significant in this regard, which provides that all the evidence taken in the course of the trial shall be taken in the presence of the accused only. But this section provides for the exception also, that if the personal attendance of the accused is dispensed with the evidence, then the evidence shall be taken in the presence of a splitter. The right which is created by this section is further supplemented by section 278, which provides that whenever the law requires the evidence of a witness to be read over to him after its completion, the reading shall be done in the presence of the accused or in the presence of a splitter. Now, another important aspect of fair trial is that there should be a cross-examination of prosecution witnesses. Article 14, Clause 3, Subclause E of the ICCPR states that in the determination of any criminal charge against the accused, he is entitled to examine or has examined the witnesses against him and to obtain the attendance and examination of witnesses on his behalf under the same conditions as witnesses against him. This mandates that the parties be equally treated with respect to the introduction of evidences by means of interrogation of witnesses. The prosecution must inform the defense of the witnesses it intends to call at trial within a reasonable time prior to the trial so that the defendant may have sufficient time to prepare his or her defense. Now, speedy trial is very, very important so far as fair trial is concerned. And it is very much important that trial must be done in the expeditious way if the confidence of the public is to be reposed in the judiciary, because it is said that justice delayed is justice denied. And this delayed trial defeats the objective of the resocialization of the offenders also. Delayed justice leads to unnecessary harassment of the victim as well as that of the accused. Section 309, Clause 1 of CRPC gives directions to the courts with a view to have a speedy trial and quick disposals. Though this feature is recognized as an element of fair trial, but the real problem is how to make it a reality in actual practice, where millions of cases are pending before the subordinate courts for the disposal. In an important case of Hossain Khatun versus State of Bihar, the Supreme Court declared that speedy trial is an essential ingredient of reasonable, just, and fair procedure guaranteed by Article 21, and it is the constitutional obligation of the state to set up such a procedure as would ensure a speedy trial to the accused. The state cannot avoid its constitutional obligation by pleading financial or administrative inadequacy. Now, ne bis in idem means prohibition on double jeopardy. The concept of double jeopardy is based on the doctrine of authorized acquit and authorized convict, which means that if a person is tried and acquitted or convicted of an offense, he cannot be tried again for the same offense or on the same facts for any other offense. Article 14, Clause 7 of the ICCPR also provides that no one shall be liable to be tried or punished again for an offense for which he has already been finally convicted or acquitted in accordance with the law and penal procedure of any country. Now, These principles are also incorporated in the Constitution under Article 20, which provides that no criminal law will have the retrospective effect. Then the rule of self-incrimination. It means a person cannot be a witness against himself. And the third one is that uh, the rule of double jeopardy, like it was there in the ICCPR also. So our constitution also guarantees various procedural safeguards as well as certain substantive rights in order to ensure the fair trial to the accused. Now, another important aspect of fair trial is the aid of the counsel. And we all know that in Article 22 of the Constitution also, it is incumbent upon the magistrate that he should inform the accused about the right to legal aid. Whenever a person is being arrested, whenever the arrest is made by the police or where the accused is being presented or being produced before the magistrate, each and every authority is responsible to provide this knowledge to the accused that he can have the counsel of his choice in order to defend his case. So in the criminal codes, the lawyers are necessities and not luxuries. The requirement of fair trial involves two things. Number one, an opportunity to the accused to secure a counsel of his own choice. And secondly, the duty of the state is to provide a counsel to the accused in certain cases. The right is recognized because of the obvious fact that ordinarily an accused person does not have legal knowledge and the professional skill to defend him before a court of law, where in the prosecution is conducted by a competent and experienced prosecution. That's why it is very, very fundamental right of an accused person to have the aid of a counsel, and it is ensured by the Article 39A of the Constitution also, which was added by the 42nd Amendment in 1976. The right to legal aid is very much ensured by the Constitution of India also. Now, if you look upon the role of the defense counsel, that what role is played so far as the fair trial is concerned, we all know that a lawyer is sine qua non to get the bail and the assistance of a client who is at liberty. Uh, the defense counsel helps to prepare the case of the accused at the trial stage. The effective participation by the counsel might significantly reduce the drop in the number of cases between the prosecution initiated and the convictions resulted. And the counsel can also prevent hasty and oppressive application of the criminal process against the innocent person and can save him from the inconvenience, humiliation, and expense which might result from a lengthy and protracted trial. So during a trial stage, the counsel has a duty to ensure that full disclosure is provided by the prosecutor, that all the evidence bearing on the accused case is disclosed or produced. So it is one of the important facets of fair trial that the defense counsel must help the accused to prepare his case and to dispose of the matter in a expeditious way. So, in summing up, in the case of Mohammad Hussain versus NCT of Delhi 2012, it was said that fair trial is the principle that constitutes the essence of rule of law. The foremost elements of a fair trial are impartial forums for adjudication, right to cross-examine the opposite side witnesses, and right to counsel, etc.